Hello students, so today the next topic of chapter 2 or unit 2 we are going to discuss, that is forms of business organization. Now second form of business organization in private sector is partnership. Partnership is association of two or more person for carrying on of a business and for sharing profits and losses. Okay, when two and more person, they associate with each other, they come together, they join hands together, and they run a business and they share the profits and losses. So that is known as partnership. Now there are some characteristics of partnership which we have to see. So two or more person should be there, then there should be agreement. Now there should be agreement in between the partners that how they are going to share the business, the profits or losses, and then who is going to run the business. So these are all the things which there should be, so that there is no dispute. So they should agree upon the terms and conditions of the partnership. Then profit sharing. So for what they are running this business? For sharing the profits. Then the profit sharing ratio should be decided. Then the next one is implied authority. That means a partner can act on behalf of the firm. This is implied authority of a partner. He, in his individual capacity, can act for the firm, and the firm is bound by the act of the partner. So that is implied authority. Then unlimited liability. Just now we have discussed that when the personal property of the partners are liable to repay the debts of the company, that is unlimited liability. Then comes mutual agency. Mutual agency means the business is carried on by one or all partners on behalf of the others. That means one partner can act for all. Okay, so that is mutual agency. Then utmost good faith means every partner is supposed to act honestly and they should give proper accounts to other partners. So that is utmost good faith. There should be faith in partnership. Then restriction on transfer of shares. The shares of the partnership business cannot be transferred to anyone else. It's not like that. Suppose I am partner in a business with my friend, I cannot transfer my interest to my family member or to my any of the relatives. So there is restriction on transfer of shares. Then continuity of partnership business depends upon the desire and the wish of the partners. Now after the characteristics of partnership, the next thing is the partnership deed. See, the agreement between the partners carrying on the business can be in written or it can be oral also. But it is always advisable to have a written agreement between the partners so that no dispute arises in the future. So whenever the agreement is in written form, it is known as partnership deed. That means partnership deed is a written agreement between the partners and it contains all the terms and conditions of the partnership. Now one more thing is there, which is the registration of partnership deed. See, partnership is guided by or it is governed by the Indian Partnership Act 1932. Now the Act never says that it is compulsory. The Act has not made the registration of partnership business compulsory, but what are the consequences of non-registration? See, if the partnership firm is not registered, okay, no penalties are there. But if the firm is not registered, then a partner cannot file a case in any court against the firm or the partners for any rights which is conferred by the Partnership Act. Means a partners cannot file case against the firm or any other party. Now if a right is arising from the contract, okay, it cannot be enforced by any court on behalf of the firm against any third party. Means out of the contract, if the partners if the firm is having some right which is conferred by the contract, they cannot force the third party also. Now third is the firm or any partner cannot claim a set off or any proceeding in a dispute with a third party. They cannot file a case, they cannot file for claim for set off or any proceeding if there is a dispute with a third party. So these are the problems or these are the consequences of non-registration, but there is no penalty. It depends upon the partnership firm, the partners, whether they want to get their firm registered or not. And again, I'm saying in case of partnership deed also, it can be oral or written. But when it is written, it is known as the partnership deed. So this much we have to do in sole proprietor and partnership. The next form is the joint Hindu family business or Hindu undivided family. Okay, this is joint Hindu family or Hindu undivided family. Now, there are two schools which is there, which first one is Vyabhaga and another one is the Mitakshara. These are the two schools of law which govern the HUF or joint Hindu family business. Now, Vyabhaga, it is prevalent in West Bengal and Assam, where the son acquires the right in the family property only after the death of his father. In Mitakshara, which is prevalent in the rest of India, here the son acquires the right in the family property right from his birth. Okay, so Mitakshara says that whenever a son is born in a family, he gets the rights. And Vyabhaga says that after the death of the father, the son acquires the right in the family property. Now, what are the conditions of existence? How joint Hindu family business can exist or how it can come into existence? There are two points. First is there should be minimum 2 members. Okay, in a joint family there should be minimum 2 members, and existence of ancestral property should be there. Okay, in the absence of ancestral property, you cannot form a joint Hindu family business. So minimum 2 members and existence of ancestral property. Now, what are the characteristics of Hindu undivided family businesses? The first one is creation. Okay. Now, creation is how an undivided HUF is created. It is created by the operation of Hindu law. Okay. Operation of Hindu law. Then, who are the members of the family? Anyone who takes birth in the family becomes a member of the joint Hindu family. Then comes the management. Who is managing the business? The business is being managed by the Karta. Then who is the Karta of the business? The eldest member of the family is the Karta of the business and he manages the business. Then liability. Here the liability of Karta is unlimited. Rest other members, their liability is limited. Now, right of accounts. In right of accounts, the member other than the Karta, they don't have right to inspect or copy the content of the accounts. Then can a minor be admitted as a member in joint Hindu family? Yes. Since it is a joint Hindu family business and any person who takes birth in the family becomes a member, so a minor can also be admitted in a partnership business, in Hindu undivided family business. Now, how it can be dissolved? See, a Hindu family business is not affected. The existence of joint Hindu family business is not affected by death of the Karta. The next eldest member become the Karta in that case. Now, implied authority. Implied authority means the Karta, the work of the Karta or the decisions of the Karta is, the other members are bound. They are bound by the decisions taken by the Karta. Okay, that means the Karta has implied authority to bind the Hindu undivided family business. That is why he is alone having this unlimited liability. Okay, the liability of Karta is unlimited because his act is binding on the Hindu undivided family. So this is the third form, which is joint Hindu family business. Next is cooperative society. The fourth form of business organization is cooperative organization. Here, this cooperative organization is created not for profits but for the welfare of their members, for mutual help and for the welfare of their members. Now, these are the features. First is voluntary organization. So, cooperative organization is a voluntary type of organization where anyone can join, okay, or they can leave the organization. They join the organization for some common objective, for some common purpose, some common motive. Then democratic management. Here the committee is elected, the managing committee is elected by the members themselves. They one member, one vote. On this basis, the managing committee is elected, and that managing committee manages the whole organization. Then service motive. As I said, cooperative organizations are set up for providing services to its member. They are set up not for earning profits, but for serving, for mutual help, for serving the members of the society. Then capital in return. See, a person who wants to join a cooperative organization, he has to contribute his share in the capital, okay, and then the return he gets in the form of profits. Now, government control is there. Cooperative societies are regulated by Cooperative Societies Act and State Cooperative Societies Act. So, it is regulated by the government. And distribution of surplus. After distributing the profits to the members, whatever amount is left, that is given, that is distributed among the members on the basis of goods purchased by each member from the society. So, these are the features of cooperative organization. Only this much we will do. After that, in the next video, we will do the fifth form of business organization, that is joint stock company. Thank you.